Hello and welcome to Platform 53, my layout inspired by the West Country in England. My name is Paul and this project started about 4 years ago as I was coming up to retirement. I was looking for a project that would keep me busy during the winter and allow me to do some model making and to run some trains. I hadn't done anything with trains since I was a child, so this really is my first layout. It was fascinating getting back into the hobby, or getting into the hobby, maybe I should say, how much it's changed and how much DCC has made a lot of things more interesting and a lot easier to do. The learning curve really to start things off now is very, very low. And that's made it very enjoyable. And I have to say, I've had a great deal of fun, a great deal of frustration, and a lot of learning, but mostly fun. And I think that's the whole thing. It really needs to be fun to keep you interested. So the layout is based in the west of England, around Frome. I think two reasons, really. I was attracted to the Brunel period station. It's changed a lot over the years, but it's been, I think, nicely renovated. It is a Grade 2 listed building and it is one of a kind and still operating, used every day. The second reason is I was born there. So it's been a nice trip back in time to look at some history and to look at the town and its industries and how it's developed. So there's been a bit of a historical context for me, which is a little reflected in the layout. The layout itself is inspired. It's not in any way attempting to be a replication. I have sort of picked the 1960s to early 70s as a time period, and it is diesel based. I've not gone for steam at all. I've just stuck with diesel. That's more than enough for me at the moment. The Frome line was opened in 1845, and then it was acquired by the Great Western Railway in 1850, the same year that the station was opened. It was essentially a branch linking line until 1906, when General Rail Developments put Frome on the main east-west line, so from London to Penzance. But that only lasted for a few years, because by 1933 a bypass had been built. And so Frome really returned to a branch line existence. And this was covering mostly freight. The area has a lot of quarrying and coal mining in the Mendip Hills area, and Frome itself had chemical industries, a foundry, printing, as well as all the dairy products. So there was plenty of freight traffic. The rail layout of the 1910, 1920s was quite extensive freight area. What I've chosen to do is to keep some of that. From the building point of view, I've concentrated on the station area and the goods shed, and then I've also incorporated the aspects of the malt house and the dairy. So the layout has both through lines and freight area, not exactly as the layout, but enough to give some operational interest. So here we can see the units of the layout skeleton being put together. Each one is self-standing and then they're bolted together to give rigidity around the room. Additionally, underneath are two bus lines, one for the rails and one for lights to be put in later. The top table is a 6mm plyboard that's been painted brown to seal it and covers over the joints. I think that the biggest issue with the whole thing was I didn't put feet on the bottom that could be used to change the heights, and in some places they're just not level like they should be. So a bit of a novice mistake there. So the idea in this layout is that I would build as much as possible from kits or scratch building. So here we have some of the first efforts with building some coaches from kits, even before I'm really laying rails. And then in the background you can see one of the first scale scenes kits that I've built. That was very valuable in learning different methods for putting things together. This was a larger effort, which is a sort of a kit bash to represent the malt house that was in Frome. Once I'd got that far, then it was really about laying rails and starting to see how things might go together. So here we have a bit of a view for some rails laid and some just sort of seeing how the transfer from the computer screen layout to the real layout goes. This was an exciting step for me in actually getting a point to work. I'm using Cobalt IP digital motors, which, while expensive, perform very well and have proved very valuable as I've developed the layout with their flexibility. The underwiring, I started with these clips to link things together and just found they were useless for me. And so now I've gone back to old-fashioned ways of pulling back some wire and soldering my connecting lines, and now I have really no problem with electrical connections. So I think they work for some people, but just not for me. So in keeping with the layout theme, my first loco was a Hymic Class 35 with hydraulic transmission. Very nice little model. Mostly happy with it. I was a little disappointed it didn't have lights in the cab area, but I eventually sort of got on to fix that. This is the first loco, and I was so nervous with DCC that I got Hattons to put a Hattons chip in there, which actually has performed very well. Now I do it myself, but it is useful sometimes getting the retailer to do things for you when you're just starting out. So here we can see it's going around the basic loop that I sort of very quickly got together. Coaches still aren't finished. But it was great fun, just getting it going. And now we've got the tops on the coaches, no people yet, and we started to put the station together. Here's a quick glimpse of it. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more in the future. Goodbye.